Hey, thanks for tuning in. We got a great show for you tonight. We got Nick Christopher's on. Nick's an author out of New York. We know that he wrote a great book with John Alite, Prison Rules. Mob Ties is another great book he wrote. And he's got 4 books out there right now. He's doing great. So we got him on the show tonight. We're going to talk about these books. We'll talk about his experiences living in New York and growing up around these wise guys. It is interesting, this. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Nick. Thank you. Hey, we're back here with Nick, and I'm going to let Nick introduce himself again. And I already told you a little about him. So, Nick, tell us about your background a little in New York, growing up over there with these wise guys.
Well, I grew up around Rockaway Park, right near, not too far from Howard Beach, and I grew up around a lot of these guys by default, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to give you a little bit of a go back a little bit, when I was in elementary school, I was getting beat up every day. I was bullied every single day.
Oh.
Every day after school, guys jumped me all the time. So when I got into junior high school, I said, I got to do something about this. This is getting out of hand. So it just so happened there was a gang in the school, and the leader happened to be Greek, like me. It just so happened. Mm-hmm. And I became friendly with him, and I eventually got initiated into their crew, and I had to do something, like you know how it is. I had to do something to get in, so I shoplifted, I got caught, and that's how I was, inducted, so to speak, with those guys. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got into that kind of world, so to speak. So I got into a lot of fights and things like that. I got pinched when I was 21 for assault. And besides that, a lot of guys, my father used to own a cafe, like most Greeks. And a lot of guys used to come to my store, maid guys. I had the boss of the Colombo crew used to come in there all the time, Vic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I knew Vic well. I grew up his whole family. Booby Sosani, who was with Sonny Black, used to come in there every now and then. I went to AC with Booby, but as a matter of fact.
Wow.
Guys like those guys used to come in all the time. Angelo Ruggiero came in one time. So when I was young, I was 12, 13 years old. So I was fascinated by them, and I was like, what are these guys doing? And I'll even tell you a funny story. My father loved to bet, like most Greek guys.
Yeah.
And we had a guy, Sally, that used to come in the store every day. And I'm like 12, 13 years old now, so I don't understand his life, So this guy is like, comes in, walks behind the counter, and walks to the back of the restaurant in the back room. I'm like, what the hell's this guy doing? So I'm telling my dad, I go, Dad, where's this guy going? My father goes, don't worry about it. It's okay, don't worry about it. All right. I eventually find out he's our bookie.
Oh.
So he used to come in there and take bets, horse bets. He used to bring the football sheets. If you remember back in the day, we used to have the football sheets.
Oh, yeah.
Me, with my smart mind, I took a football sheet, and I had a library, and I made Xerox copies of it. And I used to sell them myself at the school. I used to have all the Jewish kids bet with me. So eventually my father found out, almost kicked my ass.
Sure.
So that's kind of how I got to know the life, know people like that. I didn't get mixed into it. I almost did, but I didn't, which was probably the good thing. And that's where I kind of landed. That's when I started writing about it rather than being in it, so to speak.
I wish I did that myself, my friend. I would have saved myself a lot of problems.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it was exciting hanging out with these guys. Hanging out with John, with Booby, and Vic's whole family. I know his sons. So it was fun and exciting. But somehow, I think it was more, I devoted to my dad, who kind of got me away from that
Yeah.
thing.
Mhm.
So I could say my dad is like, I could thank him for like getting me away. Actually, even more so, Bobby,
Yeah.
when I was pinched and I was sitting in the cell, the desk sergeant came to my cell and he said to me, "You made bail." I said, "Who posted bail?" He said, "Your father did." I said, "Oh shit." So he goes to me, "You got to leave." He posted bail, "You got to leave." I said, I look at the desk sergeant and I go, "I'm good here. I don't want to leave."
Yeah.
So I said, the guy goes to me, he goes, "Why?" I said, "You take a look at my father. The guy's 6'1". He's a big guy. He's going to kick my ass." He says, "Well, you got to leave." So I left. But I tell you, when I was sitting in there by myself, I started thinking. I said, is this the road I really want to go down? You know, is this for me? And I think that kind of gave me a little bit of an, enlightenment. And
Now, how old were you at this time, Nick?
when I got pinched,
Yeah,
21.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good age to realize that this wasn't for you, you know?
Yeah.
And believe me, I spent 14 years in prison, so I know what it's like, and I've been locked up quite a few times in my life, when I was younger too.
Yeah.
But my father was a gangster like you. I grew up around all these capos and made guys and up in Boston, and we admired them, and it happens like it happened to you a little there, We see the money, we see the clothes, we see the women, but good for you that at 21, that's what you decided to do. When I was 21 years old, I had a construction company, and I was doing well up until the market crashed. I was about, 29, 30 years old. I came back to Boston and went out on the street, which I wish I never did now, but I guess it was something I had to experience myself, Nick.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And now you you got 4 books. That's awesome.
Mhm.
I love to write and teach myself. I wrote that Christian book, God's Plan Revealed. I have that up there on Amazon now. And Emily Sweeney is doing my life story right now in the war in the 90s in Boston. And I have another book from Copper to Christians that I never published. It needs to be polished,
Right.
But regardless with that book, like I said, I self-published. I sent that out to publishers. I sent out query letters. And they told me, and I'm talking to you about this because you're a writer. I'm a little excited about that, And I sent out query letters and all of that. And they said I was a new author and a Christian author, and they didn't want to take a chance with me. I'm sure you understand that. And
Sure.
that's why I self-published. From Copper to Christian, I am definitely going to publish that either way, either through my manager or self-publish it. But I want to put that book out soon. But a lot of what's in that book is going to be in Emily's book. So I want Emily's book to come out first. I'll rewrite from Copper to Christian a little. And you know what I need to do,
Sure.
in this way, because that's more of a Christian book. And hers is definitely going to be a law book,
Right. Okay. That's good.
We have a bad storm outside the studio right now. So if you hear it, if it's picking it up, that's what it is. We got a bad thunderstorm. Hopefully it's going to pass soon, and the noise will be over with.
It's probably can come by me soon, probably.
Yeah, it's either coming up or going down. I don't know. But I can hear the pouring rain outside the window.
Oh, okay.
I
look forward to it.
Yeah, so I mean, we got insulation, everything up, but I wasn't going to block a window for this,
Okay.
So we got to struggle sometimes with the noise, but that's okay. It's still going to come out good, Nick. So tell me more about yourself. Now, John Alite is a friend of mine. You know that.
Yeah.
He's done my show. I've done his show. I really like John. How was it working with him and writing the book with him?
It was exciting. John was a phenomenal man. I was very fortunate to have met with him a couple of years ago. And again, we knew a lot of the same kind of people growing up.
Yeah.
Not too much difference in age. And which was pretty funny. And that's how we kind of clicked, because I mentioned names, he mentioned names. Oh shit, yeah, I know him. and that just created a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually he bring this idea to my table, tell me about Prison Move. And I thought it was a great idea. And then we collaborated, we worked on it, and we made it happen. And it was, like I told you earlier, it was first published by a guy in California, publishing company, but that didn't work out. And we got out of contract with him, and then we just put it out ourselves. And the funny thing, in the book making business, as you may know, you make more money self-publishing than you do with a publisher.
No, you do, because that's basically after Amazon takes their end out, the rest is yours, and I think it is a good way to go. You've written 4 books. You're an established author. With me, it was a little tougher. Plus, my genre was Christian. That's tough, But like I said, after this book comes out with Emily, I think I'd have a better shot self-publishing from copper to Christian.
Right. Okay. Well, that would be good. That's an interesting concept.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bobby. You were saying.
Well, while I was in prison, I got a degree in theology, studied the Bible for years, was a teacher, So I really liked that genre and writing about that. But then again, I was a mob boss. So, there's 2 sides to the coin with me. And it's hard, it's hard to put them both together. And when we first went out with the book, we tried that, crossing the genres together, and the publishers didn't like it, So now they're going to be 2 separate books.
Right.
If you know what I mean. Yeah.
Well, I think it's an interesting concept where it's 2 different, like you said, 2 different sides of the coin.
Mm-hmm.
You got good and evil, pretty much. But I'm a Christian myself,
Oh, praise God.
Greek Orthodox, very similar to Catholic. There's not too much of a big difference, really. So I can understand. I think most people live in that kind of world, really, where they live on 2 sides of the coin.
Yeah.
I'm not saying on an everyday basis, but look, like the saying goes, we're sinners every single day. Besides, there's only one without sin is God and Jesus, obviously. Not to get all religious right now, but that's the fact.
No, it is. It is.
So it's hard to escape unless you're, a totally good boy, which I think is kind of tough.
Yeah, it is.
Especially nowadays.
Well, you know as much as I do. Trying to live in this world and trying to be a proper Christian, it's hard. It's hard to walk that line,
I mean,
it's like a toddling fence sometimes. But I got to say this: if we love Christ and we're Christians and we try to do the right thing every day and do our best, I think God's happy with us.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, like we were talking about Johnny A before.
Yeah.
Johnny A, he did a lot of bad things in his life. We all know this.
Mm-hmm.
He had a rough life, many years in jail, 16 years. And I give the guy credit when I did the book with him. But here's a guy who comes out of that kind of lifestyle like yours, like you did.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned his life around, tried to do something positive, especially for young kids, which that was the whole purpose of the book, really, was to get the youth to read it. So to scare them straight that this is not the way to go. That you don't want to end up in prison. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to do this thing. Because me and John both have been there. Well, him more than me, obviously, but we've both been there, kind of a thing. And we understand that this is not the right way to go.
Right.
So I give John a lot of credit, even though he gets a lot of slack for it. Oh, he was a rat and this and that. I mean, even I got slack. When I did the book with John, Bobby, not to point fingers, but the Gotti crew came after me pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Forget about it. Emails, Twitter account, Facebook, phone calls. I even got a letter to cease and desist for the book, believe it or not. So I ignored all that bullshit. I'm like, leave me the hell alone. I'm writing a book. Leave me alone. Oh, you shouldn't do it with this guy. I'm like, why not? This is business. I'm not married to the guy. not my girlfriend. This is business.
Right.
But no, they don't want to hear anything about it. I got harassed like you have no idea.
Yeah, it's like, John Alite does a lot of things behind the scenes. He's really trying. He's doing good for people. I can't see, I understand the attacks to a point, but I think it's just getting ridiculous from everybody. I mentioned this, I do a live show every Wednesday night, and we were talking about this last week, and we're going to talk a little more on my live show tomorrow night about the psychology, behind these former mob guys like myself that are doing these shows. Really, we should be left alone. I don't care what beef he has with the Gottis. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. These attacks are ridiculous. I told John before, I said, John, you're a man. You did what you did. A lot of people know what you did. You're a bad guy. You don't have to defend yourself. If you start defending yourself with these people, Nick, after a while, they're going to stop. They're going to stop.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that fuse is going to die out like they did with you. They couldn't get nowhere with you. What did they do? Like, they stopped.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I didn't really play into it. I kind of like ignored them.
Yeah.
Once or twice I told one of these Gotti puppy dogs, this guy Chris Casparosa, his name is, and I told him, I said, listen, straight up, leave me the hell alone. I'm doing my job. That's what I do. I'm a writer. I have no reason to abandon this project. Or for nobody.
Right.
I'm doing this for me. I ain't doing this for you or anybody else. So leave me the hell alone.
That's right.
So I think at that point he kind of like backed off.
Well, that's what they're going to do. If they can't get no way with the bullying and the bullshit, they're going to stop. They're going to stop. Listen, I got nothing against the Gottis. John Gotti was the boss of one of the major crime families in the country. John Jr., I got nothing against him or the family, But this constant barraging, I think, shouldn't be going on with any of us. I'm sure John Jr. is a good guy, the family, but I don't see it. I don't care what he says he did or Alite didn't do. I got to look at him as one of us, and that's it. And as far as the bullying bullshit, I got to side with John. With John Alite, And I'll tell you, he's writing books. The guy's doing everything he can. He's moving around. He's speaking with different people. He does these lectures. I mean, I think he's doing a great job. I really do. God bless him, And I just hope all this nonsense is going to stop.
Yeah, well, God will. He's doing the right thing. He's moving forward and doing everything in a positive light. So that's what's important.
Right. That's what it is.
That's all. These people should just say, you know what? At least he's doing something positive rather than negative.
Right.
Maybe we should just leave him alone. Whatever our history was, it's in the past. There's no reason to keep bringing it up.
This is true.
In the beginning, the public was kind of interested at the little controversy, but I think after a while they got kind of bored. It's like enough already.
Yeah, I think so. I just want to pull this a little closer so I could hear you.
Sure.
Better. Really push it back. All right. I don't hear good. I don't see good. I'm getting old, Nick. I'm doing the best I can,
Yeah, you're doing fine.
I'm trying to figure out all this technical bullshit.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
It's just hard every day,
Yeah. Sound like nowadays when everything was simple.
I know. All right. I say it all the time. When I went to prison, I had a flip phone and a beeper. That was the extent of my technology. Then I come out to all of this shit. It's too hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I got Paulie over here. He's laughing. It's hard, Paulie. Every day it's a struggle.
Yeah, no kidding. Tell me
We're doing it, though. We're doing it.
Yeah, we're managing.
Yeah. See, the first book I wrote, I was on, I was in Arizona in prison, and I was the education teacher there, teaching GED and all of that. And I was able to take the typewriter, IBM typewriter, back to my room. And that's how I was writing my books and all my papers and doing everything with that. It's so much easier to do everything on the computer now, you know, but still, it's still hard to get past Word and get past these other things. And then what I've done before, I can't remember. You know what I mean, Nick?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I get writer's block every 10 minutes. It's too funny. So, Nick, let me ask you, we'll change the subject a little. Mob ties.
Right.
I know there's a chapter in there about Boston.
Yes.
And it's the Greeks that tied in with the Italian, or the Greeks that work with everybody?
Well, the book is actually called Mafia Ties.
Yes.
The Greek Syndicates. And yeah, it's about how the Greek guys work with the Italians, or with the Albanians or the Irish, depending on what story I'm talking about and who I'm talking about. When it comes to Boston, I mentioned a couple of guys, like Willie Cazonis. Willie Cazonis, who's called Skinny Willie, used to work with, was under Jerry and Julio.
Yeah, he was. Actually, he was from the West End. I know Skinny. Yeah, I know Skinny. And yeah, he was a big bookmaker. Skinny was very high in that organization. You know, because he wasn't Italian, they still treated him like a made man. You know, he had all the info, he got all the respect. So you're talking about a good guy.
He used to drive around Jerry every now and then, and on the North End. Jerry and Julio, that is.
Yeah, Jerry and Julio. Yeah, he was with the Angiulo family. Yep.
Yeah, Skinny used to drive him around a lot. And actually, it's funny because there's a story where Jerry is talking to him and his son, Jerry's son. And he's explaining to Jerry about how you can get pinched. And he's giving him like a breakdown. And he wants Willie to educate him of what to do, what not to do.
Right.
Regardless of whatever his father was telling him and what Willie was explaining, he got pinched the following month. Over something. Yeah. It was pretty funny when I read it. And I found the quote where Jerry's, it's a recorded, it was actually a surveillance recording that the FBI did.
See, now you could see the respect that Skinny got. I mean, Jerry was the boss of Boston.
Yep.
Under Patriarcha, and now he wants him to school his kid. So you could see the respect that he got from the wise guys of Boston.
Yep.
You know, and when I met him, I was with Jackie Salami. I met him a few times. In the life, he was a good guy. Skinny was a good guy.
There was another guy, there was a few, but the one that I'm thinking about right now on top of my head. There's another guy, Louis Veneos, who he got into a problem with Jerry, where his brother-in-law, Walter Lafreniere, I can't remember the last name, how to pronounce it, but his brother-in-law, his son-in-law, this guy Lou's son-in-law, was married to his daughter. So Walter was in hock to Jerry for loan shark money, a lot.
Oh, okay.
And Louis and his brother, I believe, they owned a strip club on, I think maybe in the combat zone, I believe.
Yeah.
On the strip club there. And Jerry said to him, Jerry was telling Lou, you got to tell Walter that, because Walter got picked up. He got pinched. And Jerry was worried he was going to speak. He was going to talk. So he told Lou, you got to make sure your son-in-law doesn't say anything. Be positive. Unfortunately, Lou didn't get to him in time, and Walter ratted.
Okay.
Jerry got in trouble.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, Lou got whacked because of that reason.
Yep. Now Skinny, and I'll tell you what club it was probably the Naked Eye at the combat zone. Because Skinny was over that club. Those guys were with him. And I know that personally, you know. So there was, when I was a kid, I used to go up there, and my father used to run one of the strip joints for them. and Rico's on the Grange Street. And the Naked Eye was right down the alley on, what was that, Washington Street, Paul?
The Naked Eye.
The Naked Eye.
All right, Naked Eye was on Washington Street.
Yeah, and the
Right
glass
in the-
slipper was around the corner.
Yeah,
You know, but when I was running on the streets, I know that Skinny was connected to the Naked Eye up there. So that might have been the club. With all that.
That I didn't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know that firsthand, you know. That's when I was proposed in the family.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and even though Skinny wasn't a main guy, they still told him I was proposed in the family. That's the respect they had for him.
Wow.
I just like the guy. That's why I'm talking about him.
Yeah.
You know,
There's
gotta
another guy.
respect that.
There was another guy that was, I'm not saying he got the respect because he didn't, because he was running around with the wrong guy. This guy, Artie Brazos, he was with Barboza, with Joe.
Oh, all right, yeah, yeah,
Now he was in Joe Barboza's crew.
okay,
Artie and this other guy, I'm sorry, but his name escapes me right now, Rocco, I think his name was. When Barboza was in jail at the time, they were able to post bail to get him out.
right,
Artie and this other guy, Gino and Rocco, I think it was, were running around trying to pick up, trying to get some money to get their boss out. Now, Larry, that you mentioned before, Larry, oh my God, Bayonne?
Larry Bione, yeah,
Larry Bayone, and I think it was one of the other guys from the Boston crew, not in Julio, some other guy that was.
no, Rafi Chong, I know the story.
Yeah, Rafi Chang, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they told him that, okay, Artie, come down with Rocco and Gino, and we'll make up the difference of what you owe for the bail to get Barboza out. Unfortunately, that was a setup.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, they both got whacked.
Yeah, they got whacked in the North End of the nightlight.
Right, the nightlight, that's correct, yes.
You know, it's funny. I'm probably gonna end up doing something on Barboza sooner or later. What they did there, that's what caused him to flip. You know, and he ended up getting killed far later. We know Barboza got clipped.
Yeah.
We think Joe Russo did that. That's the story in the street. Joe Russo was a bad guy, you know. But my mother used to work in the nightlight in the North End,
Oh, shit,
which
yeah.
is when he's Boston. My mother met Barboza. Barboza used to go, when she was in East Boston with my father Santo, my stepfather. She used to go to the Airways Cafe, and she was a waitress there, and she used to cook. And Barboza used to love her lasagna or eggplant. I can't remember. I got to ask my mother. And he used to go down there and eat all the time.
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, I was a young kid then. I don't remember if I ever ran into him, if I ever saw him in there. There were so many people at the time going in and out of there. And yeah, but he was a bad guy, Barboza.
Well, he's a hard face not to remember. He had some. He was not a good-looking guy.
No, that's a kiss that'll scare you in your sleep. Oh, I know.
They didn't call him. Yeah, they didn't call him the animal for nothing.
No, he was bad. He was bad.
But
He had a lot of good philosophies on the street, though.
yeah, well, the thing about him, Bobby, that I'm not saying I'm a big fan of Barboza, but I respect the man because whatever he was told to do, he did. You know.
He did it. I mean, you know.
The Italians turned their back on him.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of that's a big betrayal of mine. I don't blame him for being pissed because.
Well, you know what it was, from what I know from the story, you know, they just wanted him out of the way at that point. And the best way to keep him out of the way was keeping him in prison.
Yeah.
They never believed he was going to flip like that. You know, they didn't want him out on bail, obviously. I mean, that's why they clipped those guys. But yeah, you know, I guess he started to be a threat, you know, because I know all these guys, Nicky Femia, I had a run in with him years ago. Had to actually kick him out of one of my buildings practically. You know, they were doing drugs. And I think Iarati ran with him too, Billy Iarati, Bobby Italiano.
Him and Billy didn't get along after the Black Fires.
That was the Black Fire murder with them too. You know, I don't remember a lot of the history, Nick, to share with you. But these Boston guys were bad guys, these guys, you know, that I grew up around, you know, and Nicky Femia. I mean, these guys killed a lot of people. And they were all running around with Barboza.
Well, do you,
No,
I mean, in your opinion, don't you think that he deserved a little bit better, a little more respect than what they gave him?
probably, but we don't know everything. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
mean, I don't agree with what they did. I think that was stupid and foolish, you know, and it turned out to be because look at what Barboza did to some of these Peter Lamoli, Joe DeHoss. He jammed up a lot of guys up there. He had a lot of information. Yeah, I don't think they should have did that. I think it was a bad move, you know. But when we talk about giving Joe respect, like I said, you know, Larry Bione was a boss up here. He was a cop of the regime, but he was right under Jerry up here, you know, that guy. And, you know, if Larry called that shot, there had to be a good reason behind it. Like I said, it didn't work out, but there had to be some type of reason behind it, Nick, you know?
Well, the other thing is with Artie, with Bratzos, the Greek, the other guy, the other thing about him, his brother was killed by Larry Bione.
Oh, there you go.
And Artie, many times, was heard at certain nightclubs and combat zone or strip clubs, always bad-mouthing Larry, saying, I'm going to whack him one day. He killed my brother. I'm going to take him out. So that news, of course, got back to Larry, obviously.
Of course.
So that was a more of a reason to do what they did.
Larry Bione was a stone cold killer, and he had killers all around him. I mean, I don't even know how Artie even lasted that long. You know,
me neither.
That's something because you know, you hear some stories, you let some things go, but Larry wasn't the type of guy. Believe me, you know, I was around Ralphie Chong, Johnny Ciccardi, used to go hang in the Bellinopoli with them. My father was with that crew. You know, when Larry walked in that door, we had to be quiet. We had to sit. We couldn't talk. Nothing.
Wow.
You know? Like we weren't there in the corner, invisible. That's how they wanted us. And I seen these guys go to attention when Larry, well, it was like a general walking in a room.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I know. Larry was a bad guy.
Well, you mentioned J.R. Russo before, who was the one who took out Barboza.
Right.
In California.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is the other Greek guy, there was another Greek guy whose name is James Halmas. Now, Jimmy was around Barboza and all them in Boston.
Yeah.
And also around Jerry and Julio, too. So he was a bookmaker, gambler, whatever. Nothing big. But in California, Jimmy was the one that was hiding Barboza to begin with.
Oh, okay.
And that's how J.R. Russo, that's how Russo found him. Because they pressured Jimmy, do you know where Barboza is? And at first, Jimmy wouldn't give him up. But eventually, they pieced it together. And they figured out Barboza's hanging out at Jimmy's place.
Yeah.
Because Jimmy was under pressure in Boston, and he took off and moved to California. And, of course, Joe knew where he was. And I figured that'd be safe. That would be a safe place. Obviously.
In those days, there was no place that was a safe place. You know, this La Cosa Nostra thing didn't start falling apart till the 90s, the end of the 90s.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
very true.
we're still all hooked up, you know, juiced in. Now today, I don't know. I don't know if Joe Barboza was walking down in Little Italy, down there in New York, if he get clipped the way things are today, I don't know, you know?
No, I mean, we both kind of probably know already that, you know, the life now has changed dramatically. You know, they made it, after John Sr. went away, and they just changed the whole face of the life, pretty much. You don't hear about guys getting whacked anymore.
No, you don't.
Hasn't happened in years. You know, the only place it happens is in Canada. They're still whacking each other up there.
Oh, I know. You know, this is the two families up there still, right?
Yeah, Rizzuto and Montagna, I think it is.
Yeah.
even Rosulu was dead, but his crew was still there.
Yeah.
So, but those are Sicilians whacking each other like crazy.
Oh, I know. I know. They still bring that shit from the old country.
Yes.
We don't have that no more.
No, not over here. No, not anymore.
No, that's all dead now. You know.
I mean, in your opinion, do you think Boston still has a pulse? Or no?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I've been back for 3 years, and I'm really not sure who the boss of the Patriarca family is. It could be one of 3 guys that I know that would probably take the helm. I think today you got to be a fool to take the helm. When I did it in the 90s, I got jammed up. You know, I don't think that they're going to be like you said. They're not going to be out there anymore. You know, when I was a boss up here, I was flamboyant. This is how we came up. I was on the street every day. I had my crew around me every day. They knew who I was, though. Every law enforcement agency wanted me. You know, now today, you got to be quiet about it. There is La Cosa Nostra still in Boston. My old crew from Philadelphia, a lot of the guys that I made, they're still up here. Philly's still up in Boston. The Patriarchas are here. They're trying to put themselves back together. It's never going to be like it was in the 90s, you know, in the 80s and the 90s when I came up. But yeah, they're still here. And like I said, the boss, I have no idea. I really don't know who the boss is up here, but there is one, but I don't know who he is.
Yeah. Well, so you're originally from the Boston area. So I was curious to ask your thoughts on the Whitey case, on the Whitey situation, when that whole thing went down.
Well, you know, years ago, and I was saying this before, they were calling Whitey a rat. Whitey himself was with the Italians. We know that, you know. He had a crew out in South Boston. He stretched out into Somerville and a few other areas. Whitey, Stevie Fleming, they made a ton of money. There were a bunch of bad guys. But Whitey is so big because of what happened with Connolly with the FBI.
Yeah.
That's what put him on the map. He was just a boss in the neighborhood. He was an Irish boss. I ain't taking nothing away from him, said it before. But being Italian, us guys in the North, we didn't even care about him. He had no say. There was nothing he could do, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He's more my father's generation. I never met Whitey myself. I met Stevie. I never met Whitey. I met Stevie in prison, matter of fact. But I never met Whitey, and I never wanted to have any dealings with him. Because I remember what the guys used to tell me about him. They didn't trust him, you know.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, the guy who whacked him in prison is another Greek guy from
Springfield. Yeah.
Right, Fortios.
The 2 brothers that whacked out Bruno were with Anthony Arellano.
Right.
Yeah, they were with Anthony. Anthony's a very dear friend of mine, you know. And yeah, Al got whacked Bruno when I was in prison. I didn't really like Al. Al didn't like me. He felt that I had a crew down in Vernon. I was setting up a crew in Springfield. You know, Al really didn't want me around, but there was really nothing he could do about it, you know. But I was creeping in down there a little. And Anthony Arellano, and then he became a good friend of mine, you know. Really good person, Anthony.
Yeah, the 2 brothers were under Anthony.
Yeah, they were under Anthony. Yeah.
Yeah, Ty and Freddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in my book too. I speak about them as well, about what they've done and what Freddie did recently with Whitey. I'm not saying it was a, some people say it was a cowardly thing he did, taking Whitey out like that. You know, but I kind of understood why he did it. You know, because Freddie just never likes, he doesn't like rats. He doesn't like these, that guy's like hardcore. And
well, you know, he did it out of frustration. He had a chance to get at somebody. He's been there. He's doing life, isn't he, Freddie?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, he had a shot to get at somebody that was a rat, a famous rat, and he took his opportunity. You know, it's sad though. You know, The guy died, you know, a miserable death. But then again, you know, Whitey was Whitey. You know, if he got hit by a bus, got run over, I could care less about him. You know what I'm saying, Nick?
Yeah, well, I never really. Well, Whitey was a guy that, I mean, he was a gangster's gangster, that's for sure.
Oh, he was. I'm not taking that away, but his attack on the Italians, boy, what he did, I mean, how could you have empathy for this person? I can't.
Women.
Oh, no, I agree. I agree,
He
definitely.
killed women, he was a rapist, and I heard he was half a fag, too. I mean, all these things together, you know, he wasn't a good person.
Oh, no, not at all. That's for
Oh.
sure. You know, but I mean, I found that to be an interesting subject. Because the reason why I'm bringing it up, because there's another guy that I think I told you on the phone about. My friend Nicky. My friend
Yeah.
Nicky doing life. He's from the Philly crew. He was under John Stanford.
Oh, he was under Stanford, okay.
He was back with Stanford back in the day. And he's doing a life bid for a crime he didn't commit. And the reason I know people would say to me, everybody says that when they go to jail. Oh, I didn't do it. You know, I'm innocent, like every guy that goes to prison. You know, but this guy for real is. I was skeptical in first because I knew who Nicky was. Nicky was a street soldier under Stanford. He did a lot of bad things, but this specific thing, he definitely didn't do. It's a crazy story, and I've been trying to help him to find a way to get an attorney to take his case to try to get him out. Because the real guy that murdered this one specific person in a nightclub is still walking the streets. And the reason why he's walking the streets, it's coming back to what the Whitey situation I spoke to earlier, similar situation. This guy is a CI. He's a confidential informant. And the feds know that he's guilty of this specific crime, but without shedding light on themselves, making him look bad, because you guys, you know, when you're a CI, you're not supposed to do anything bad.
Right, that's right.
But this guy whacked somebody in a club, and they had Nicky take the fall for it. And this guy's he's been in prison over 20 years now for something he didn't do.
Wow, that's sad. That's sad.
Yeah.
You know, like I told you on the phone, the similar thing up here, what Barboza did with Peter Lamoli, and you know, falsely accused them. You know, it's kind of like the same thing, and your friend is standing up. You know, when this other guy's out on the street is a CI, that's terrible. It's terrible sometimes what the feds do. You know, it is, and the information they have, and even if they know these guys are innocent, well, you know what? Screw him. He killed another person, so he'll pay for it with this one.
Right.
You know, yeah, that's how they think. This is how they think. It's sad. You
Yeah,
know?
same thing story with I'm sure you know his name. You know the old man, Sonny, in New York, who passed away about 2 years ago. Michael's father, Sonny.
Yeah. Mike Francese's father, yeah.
Yeah. Now Sonny, I know him. I met Sonny once or twice, and I went to his funeral. That was 2 years ago. May he rest in peace. Similar situation, like when Sonny got pinched back in the 60s for a bank robbery that he didn't have nothing to do with it. Remember, he did like 30 years for a bank robbery. He had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, I know. I heard that story. Yeah.
Yeah, but the most messed up thing about that story is the guy, his name is John Cordero, the guy who actually did the bank robbery with his crew, his girlfriend went to the authorities and said that Sonny had nothing to do with this. My ex-boyfriend did. But they didn't want to, whatever she said, it didn't even matter.
No.
It was irrelevant. They didn't bother even bringing that up to even let Sonny out. But they knew, they probably thought, if we let Sonny out, he's going to sue us for God knows what.
Yeah.
Probably.
And plus they know Sonny's a boss. He's going to go right back on the street. They don't want that either. See, the mentality is, and I know from my case and some other people, now listen, I'm a Boston guy, cop. I'm a small fry compared to a lot of these guys that we talk about. But still with me, to get me, they entrapped me and they didn't care how they got me. You know, and the government knows to a point. that if the jury and the people know your past and who you are, more or less, they're going to get a conviction. Am I right or wrong?
Well, that's prejudice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But the feds will use that. They don't care if you didn't kill that guy. We think you killed that guy. All right, you didn't rob that bank, but we know you did this.
For that one.
No, this is what they do. This is what they do. You know, it's weird because on my case, I went to trial twice for entrapment, lost twice. Joey Merlino, they let him off on the entrapment. He beat it. You know, me and Joe were in the case together. I was a cop in the Philly family, you know that.
Mhm.
You know, it's just crazy the way things went down and how things happened with me. And seeing what they did with me, I can understand what they did with Sonny and these other guys and your friend that's sitting in jail right now. You know, and it's terrible.
Well,
I believe if you commit a crime and you get caught for it, they got you legitimately, that's a different story. But when they start using all these other tactics, I don't think the government should be allowed to do that.
it's funny you say that because that's one of Sonny's quotes, the old man's quote.
Yeah.
He says in one of his quotes, he says, he told the feds this specifically. He said, at least arrest me, pinch me for something I did, something I didn't, not for something I didn't do.
Exactly.
I don't care. I'll do the time. Just get me for what I did.
Exactly.
Which makes sense. And it brings me to another story. This other guy who's a good friend of mine. I know the whole family. He was the head of the Greek crew here in Queens, in New York. SPIRO, his name is. SPIRO VELENTZAS. And he's also doing a life bid. Also for something he didn't do. He was accused of, he was first pinched for gambling, which he would have been gladly to do the time. No problem. Because he told me this when I went to see him in Allenwood. But he also got pinched for murder. For murdering a guy that he only told, because he was under the Lucchese flag at the time.
Yeah.
And he told the Lucchese's, I got an issue with this guy who's always trying to take over my gambling operations that I'm paying you for your protection. You know how it is. That's the protocol.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So so they said to him, it was Gas Pipe at the time. Gas Pipe and Musso was boss. And he said, okay, who are you kicking up to? He said, Fat Pete Chiodo. And he goes, let Pete take care of it. So Spiro told Pete what the issue was. Now, Spiro never really didn't tell Pete, oh, I want you to go whack the guy. He didn't tell him that. He said, listen, I got a problem. Can you help me out with it? So the feds took it that, can you help me out with it, means go whack the guy.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And then Fat Pete became a government witness.
Yeah.
And Fat Pete testified in court that Spiro wanted this guy whacked, which is not true. Pete's the guy who sent two guys down there to kill the guy.
Listen, just that little twist. See that little twist?
Yeah.
And Spiro's doing a life sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what they do. And if they had that on tape, which I know they did, but if they did, that tape would have disappeared.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, this is what they do. This is what they do. This is what they're about. Anything to get us off the street, this is what they do. Now, I got no beef with the federal government, the marshals, anything. I'm a murderer. I got out of prison. They did good for me. So, I got no beef with them. But still, there's a lot of people getting jammed up that shouldn't be. Yet for the crime they committed. Not for the crime that you put them in.
Yeah. But like I said, if they want you bad enough, they'll find a way.
They're going to do it.
Yeah, just like John Sr. When they wanted to, well, then again, Sammy helped them a lot. If it wasn't for Sammy, probably John would have never went away.
Well, yeah, he might have had a shot to get out of it. Now, John Gotti Sr. was flamboyant. This is what I'm talking about. He was flamboyant. He's out on the street. He wants all his couples in front of him. He wants the whole world to know that he's John Gotti and, he's running the Gambino family. That's the problem right there. That was John's problem, Don't get me wrong, he would always had heat because yeah, anybody knows he was sitting there, any law enforcement, you know, but when you keep throwing it in their face and in their face, and that's it, we're gonna get this guy by any means, you know, and that's what they did with John. It's sad. Died in prison, throat cancer,
Yep,
died miserable, the guy, sad,
yeah,
you know? But listen, I'm not saying himself. I don't know personally if John even ever killed anybody himself. I'm sure he did.
I don't think so.
I don't think he did, but he had a lot of guys whacked, you know?
Oh, yeah, that he did.
He had no problem giving that order.
No, not
I
at
mean,
all.
John was still, he was a tough guy. He was a man's man, that guy. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know?
Sure,
But, you know, even with me at the end, it was easy for me to say, you gotta go whack this guy. It gets easier and easier to do. You know, especially up there with the Gambinos, they had a lot of shooters.
yeah, that he did.
Now, I'm not gonna blame Sammy too much for what he did. You know, there's other stories behind it. But I think what happened with Sammy, he got fed up with John, he got fed up with the life. See, I try to explain that to people. You know, there's diehard gangsters would talk like SONNY and even SPIRO, all these other guys that would talk about. They go do life sentences. That's it. And, you know, this is their life. This is what they do. But then there's the other breed now. People are just getting tired of it. And we're going to see more and more. You know, every time a bunch of guys get pinched, you got to throw dice to see who's going to rat, how many are going to rat. You know, what are the odds now?
Yeah.
It's just a different world out there. And I don't blame anybody for doing what they did, you know, and how they're moving on with their life. But it's funny, like I said, again, we're going to do a show on this tomorrow night with the former ex-mob guys like myself and doing these podcasts, the social media stuff.
Yeah,
You know, but no, at the time when Sammy did that, we all see he's a piece of shit. You know, we're all in the street, you know. But then again, we don't know what really happened between the two.
yeah. Well, I'm not a huge fan of Sammy's, but I respect what he did actually.
Yeah,
Because, you know, look, John was backdooring him pretty much.
yeah, he was.
He was speaking about him back behind his back. Meantime, Sammy's doing this for him and doing that for him. And I like John. I met John Sr. once, and once or twice I met him. And he was a complete gentleman. You know, I like John for who he was. But I think Sammy was kind of left with no choice, really.
See, I felt the same way with Sammy. See, Sammy said it himself. All right, we know that John Sr. wasn't going out killing 20 people a week. We know that. Not himself, you know, we know that. But Sammy did make a statement. If John wants someone dead, he's going to be dead. So this is on Sammy's mind. You know, he sees what's going on. He's not a fool. He says, I got to make a move. He made a move. You know, again, let's go back to Barboza. Let's go back to all these guys that flipped. What were the reasons that they flipped? Because at some point, one way or another, a boss, family, whatever, went against them.
Yeah, so that's just something I've always been, maybe you can answer this question. Something
Yeah.
I've always been puzzled about in the life. And I know a lot of these guys. I grew up with a lot of them, speak to many of them. A lot of them are good friends of mine. But I've always been curious because I've seen this happen many times, just like what you just said, where you go into this life thinking this is a family.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody's supposed to look out for each other.
Right.
But yet, there are incidents, like the San Gravano incident, like the one with Spiro, or one of these other guys, that they get betrayed by their own leaders.
Yeah.
Or by their own captain, or by another soldier, whatever the case may be, sometimes for some stupid reasons. And the hierarchy, the top guys, wonder why. Oh, he's a rat. He flipped. Well, do you wonder why? But why, what I'm trying to understand is in the life, more so here in America than in Sicily, than in the old country, that the loyalty is so thin when it's supposed to be more stronger. And what motivates anybody to get involved in their life when this is obvious that, you know, it's so thin that it can break at any time?
See, when I grew up, being a kid, being around these guys, I seen a different style of gangster. I seen real men, you know. And as time went on, especially in the 90s when we went through up here, it was so watered down, even at that point, you know. What it is that, listen, when I joined the mob, I really thought that, you know, we were going to change it. We were going to do something different. We're going to be men of honor. And it was all bullshit. Like, I think there was 13 people ratted on me that I knew about, you know, before I even got pinched. I had them lining up against me. And the loyalty wasn't there. And I seen when one guy went down, how fast they went to scoop his shit up. There was no loyalty in the mob. There was no family. You know, if I'm a millionaire on the street, I got 20 bookmakers. I got a loan shark business. When I go away, I'm a made guy. You know, someone's supposed to take care of that. The bosses are supposed to take care of that. The bosses are supposed to make sure that my wife and my kids are eating. You know what they do today, Kujin? I'll tell you what they do. They go and take her from you. This is what they do. This is why there's no loyalty. There's no respect anymore. Omerta is out the window. And you're going to just see more and more and more. Because the deeper that you get into this life, the deeper, and I was in real deep, I was a boss, right? The more you could see how treacherous it is. And how the people around you that you think that you love, how treacherous they are towards you. And it all comes, a lot of this comes down to greed. It really does, Nick. And it's sad.
It is. There's a guy I know, a good friend of mine. His name is Billy Catolo.
Yeah.
Catolo Jones. He was Wild Bill's son.
Yep.
He was with the Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
And during the war, I'm sure you remember the Colombo War with the Persico.
Yep.
With my friend Vic Arena, the one I told you about, used to come to my dad's store.
Yeah, I know Vic Arena, yeah.
And here, when Wild Bill got killed, and the guy that was next to Wild Bill, my God, his name escapes me right now for some crazy reason, but the guy was his I think his Goomba. Like he was the best man at his wedding. This guy, after he kills Wild Bill, sets him up, he comes to his house and is looking. He was telling his wife he's looking for something, and he was trying to look in every corner to see where Wild Bill's money is.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about it. That's excuse my term, my language, but that's kind of fucked up. You go to the guy's wife's house after he got killed to go look for his money.
Yeah. This is
That's messed up.
Listen, this is what it's about now. It's all about self-preservation. No one cares. It's not about the family. It's about $1. It's about $1. The only boss on the street that I can see is really getting taken care of is Joey Merlino. If he still is, because they had such a tight crew and close friends since they were kids. That crew always looked out for each other. You know, no matter what they say about the Philly guys or what they say about Joey, they were men of honor with each other. And that's what I respected about them.
Well, Joey's an interesting character.
He is.
He's a king manipulator, that guy. Forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
His recent trial, how he was able to squirm his way out of that one for he only did a year pinch?
Yeah, he did short time. Yeah.
I mean, how did he manage that one? It's amazing.
I know. He's something, man.
He's a character, boy.
I'll tell you.
I got to give him credit.
I'll tell you, for the small family down there, and I was part of it. I was one of his capos. Very charismatic. Everybody loved Joey, you know. I would go. We went to the mall one time, and there was some black kids down there. They seen Joey, and you know me, I'm 6 feet tall, 250. They said, "Can we go touch him?" They wanted to go touch him. I said, "No, no, come on, keep going." I told the kids, you know. But it's amazing how much they love them down there. You know, it's just different there. You know.
But isn't Skinny sort of like John Senior, where he likes the spotlight too? You know.
Well, you know, I talked with that George Anastasia and David. We were talking about that. You know, it's like they brought that on Joey. I don't think Joey set out to do that in the beginning. You know, but he always had the cameras on him. They had that wall with Stanford. He just became popular, and like I said, he is charismatic. You know that.
Mhm.
You know, yeah, he's a sharp kid, or man, I should say now. And you know, the cameras just attracted him, and that was it. I think now, yeah, I think maybe he likes the showboat a little still. I think that. I think he loves being Joey Molino. Like I love being Bobby Luisi. Can't lie about that. You know, I'm a little more humble now. You know, but yeah, now I think it's too late for Joey. He's a celebrity gangster, and that's what it's going to be now. You know.
But he lost that. But he lost his place in Florida, right? He lost the restaurant.
Yeah, he lost the restaurant, but he's still down there.
Yeah,
You know.
remember that.
Yeah, he lost his restaurant. I went by there when I was down there.
Uh-huh.
I drove. I haven't seen Joey since me and Joey got pinched on the same day. Joey and I, with our guys. I haven't seen any of them since then.
Oh,
I know they don't want to see me. I don't want to see them. You know, but I do miss them. You know.
right. Well, there was another guy that was with Stanford during Molino's time, and he became unknowingly to them he was a cop. But you know this like
Ronnie Previty. That's the guy that Ronnie Previty's the one that got me, Nick.
Oh really? Okay, wow.
Yeah, Joey brought him back around, and eventually he came up to Boston. They set up an FBI sting up there with me because the FBI told me at that time they couldn't even get close to me. You know, I was really careful, you know, and every time they were sending people at me, they were striking out because I had a solid crew around me. And finally they got, because Joey made Ronnie a capo. I don't know how, but he made him a capo. He's the boss. And then Ronnie was able to speak with me. And that's how I got jammed up.
Wow. But wasn't Ronnie under Stanford at first?
He was under Stanford.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but Joey took him back in the fold. And that's what happened.
Okay. So I guess, did you ever, maybe you were too young, maybe, I don't know, but with Little Nicky?
No, those guys were all going. I didn't go down there till the 90s, till the mid 90s.
Oh,
By the
okay.
time I got there, Stanford, all them guys were already pinched.
Right.
You know, the war in Boston was slowing down and the war in Philly was slowing down
Right.
when I got together with Joey.
Well, you're probably fortunate because Scarpa was a psycho.
Oh, I know. I know he was.
Yeah.
Paranoid guy. Yeah.
Oh, get it. You know, because he was like in the Philly crew in my book also. When I talk about Philadelphia, I mentioned Scarpa, of course. I mentioned him. I mentioned a couple of guys from Philly. Leonetti. I mentioned him too. And how they were connected with the Greek guys. There was a Greek crew in Philly also. And there was this guy Harry Petros and Steve Budas. And they ran the PCP tray in South Philly.
Okay.
And they were big in that. And loan sharking, gambling, all that shit. And they used to kick up to Angelo Bruno when Angelo was close. But after Angelo got whacked, Little Nicky came in the picture. And Little Nicky sent guys out to the Greek guys and said, okay, we gotta upgrade the street tax. And the Greek guys were like, nah, I don't think so. You know, I've been paying this much all this time. Why am I going to change now?
Right.
Basically, it's something to go fuck themselves, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Little Nicky didn't like that, obviously. So he took out both of the Greek bosses. one in a restaurant in South Philly. And actually one of the shooters was little Nicky's son. And then the other guy, they found him in the trunk of a car.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't play with Nicky or that crew at that time.
Oh, no kidding.
No, he was a bad guy.
Yeah,
Bad guy.
extremely paranoid.
Yeah.
Like you said, just like Gaspar Castle in New York.
Yeah.
Paranoid guy.
Paranoia destroys a lot of these guys, Bo. You know? It
Oh,
destroys
yeah.
a lot of these guys.
It's a scary time to want to be on the street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we're approaching about an hour now, my friend. I think close to an hour, you know?
Yeah.
And I want you to talk a little more before we go. I want you to talk a little more about your books, if that's okay, Nick.
Yeah. Well, my first book, Destinies, is published by a publisher here in New York,
Okay.
and which I'm right now working with a production company to make it to a movie.
Oh, that's great.
I'm working on that right now. My second book was the one I did with Johnny A, Prison Rules. The third book was the Mafia Ties book about the Greek mob, which I self-published, but now it's going to get republished by a Canadian publisher, Coastal West Publishing, probably in the next month or two. And my fourth one is part 2 of my first book, Destinies Part 2. So those are the 4 I've got on Amazon and Barnes and Noble websites, wherever you can find them. And if anybody wants one of the copies, they can get it straight from me, and I can sign it for them. They can just, email me if I can mention my email address, if that's okay.
Yeah. Good. I got your email. I can put that link on. Also, I see you have a website.
Yes.
Can they get in touch with you through the website?
Yeah, either way, or email me if they're interested in a signed copy, and we can make arrangements. No problem.
Right, that sounds good. I'll put that link in. I'm gonna set all that up for you. Put all that links in for you.
Yeah.
All your books in. I think that's great. Man, I thank you so much for coming on the show today, Nick. This was a great show. And I hope the audience is going to learn a lot from this show. That's for sure. Yeah, with your knowledge and information, that was great. And like I said, I'll post everything. I'll put everything up there in the description so they can go right to the links. Yeah, especially Mob Ties. I think that's, they're going to want to read that. There's a lot of
That's
people.
pretty unique. Yeah, very different.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great book. I like the guys that are in it, the things you talk about. You're dead on with a lot of that stuff. That's really good,
Thanks.
But again, I want to thank you for coming on.
I thank you for having me. I thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll do this again, Nick.
No problem. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, brother.